In Paris, there was still no news about Malin's whereabouts. Well, I suppose I could do nothing more than continue scouring the islands. We would get to X marks the spot. Woo! We'll see. I had to choose my next expedition carefully. We could try to find the rainbow orchid again, finally. Or a lost explorer. Or could go for some more trials and triangulations in the caverns. Now, we want the rainbow orchid finally. The rare and fragile rainbow orchid has been discovered at last. Retrieve a specimen for our studies. We will do that. They cannot escape us, hopefully. Yes, Avalon Society. The night before I was to depart, the streets of Paris were awash with the flickering light of street lamps, as I made my way to the bar. As I entered the tavern, I overheard Wong Fei Hung proclaiming that he was hot on Malin's trail. He hinted that certain other explorers were clearly lacking in the required competence to find her, clearly a reference to my own search. It's impossible to defend our honor. We'll ignore this nonsense. A true gentleman does not rise to the taunts and jibes of their inferiors. Ignoring the insults, I retired to my room above the tavern. Oh, goodness. It impressed Homie. Our fame decreased. At some point, we'll have to confront Wong Fei Hung. Beat him like the quarreler he is. As I neared the site of the expedition, a small supply ship pulled alongside. The Royal Avalon Society would sponsor my expedition. Very nice. Ooh, we could have more first aid kits. Great. Coca wine was reduced. We could buy it as a trade good, I guess. We could buy it as a trade good. What we really wanted, though, was tea. And maybe some chocolate. Yeah, maybe we were safer. Getting the tea going and the chocolate. A torch would also be great, but really, we were focusing on survival. Our provisions chosen, I considered if there was yet more to be done before I landed on the island. Yes, we know that it's dry there, so let's get some water going. We filled some water up into our trek and looked at the trek. Homie was kind of doubtful. Also fog infected, whatever that means. We would begin the expedition. The Royal Avalon Society has asked me to find buried treasure. Any treasure I unearthed would increase the glory of the club. The Royal Avalon Society had, through some ingenious trick, discovered the growing location of the famed rainbow orchid. This rare flower was reputed to be guarded by fierce beasts that would defend it mercilessly. I would have to stay on guard if I wanted to return with it to my ship unscathed. Oh. And we should be careful about Joby, right? We should really do something about Joby. Or with Joby. There's a sleeping guardian of the orchid. We have experienced them. It's 5. Onward, though. Fear not. We have to attack them and find out about where the orchid is. It's 2 of these wolves. Now. Oh, goodness me. That wasn't great at all. Oh. As a first step, we were doing miserable. Tried to distract the wolves a bit. Then went for a mighty strike. And one of them, our oryx antelope, tried to shield the herd. And we waited what would happen now. Ah! They attacked us massively. We were stunned. What could we be able to do? We could maybe flank an enemy. We're unsure what to do. Make the Guardian vulnerable to our attacks. And strike with great force. So that one of the wolves would give up. We were hit massively. What would we be able to do? Not much, it seemed. We would try to slash, but not too much avail. Tried to protect ourselves a bit and waited for better times. It's time to show the wolves what we were made of. Apparently not of much. We struck fearlessly. Send the wolf to hell. The wolf attacked, even if he was bleeding, and we searched the remains for anything useful. 2 pelts and 2 meats were found. We grilled the meats and ate them. Then proceeded to go further. We met some islanders. Greeted them. The islanders approached me to trade. They seemed to be especially fascinated about the intricate design of my belt buckle. We would barter. And they weren't interested in much at all. I also didn't have a lot. Well, we were interested in the red berries they carried. And the question was what we would give them for it. Maybe a wolf pelt was enough. The islanders appreciated the deal. We asked about their tribe. Delicately I inquired about the nature of their traditions and customs. An islander explained that they followed a way of peace. Where others used warriors, they trained arbiters, specialists in resolving conflict without resorting to violence. They wished me peace and harmony on my journeys as I left. They hoped we would meet again for a bountiful exchange of ideas. We would meet again. There was something to be found in the desert. The purple veins on Homie's body had begun to pulsate, and fog started to spill out of his mouth, eyes and ears. I froze up in mere horror. His screams were muffled and he sunk to his knees. I fainted. When I awoke again, I saw Homie standing calmly next to the fire. He had become one of them. His face was now hidden by a mask, and he didn't look like himself anymore. Oh no, oh God, what have you done? Homie was now a pale masked shaman. And he had become sexist and lost his love. Weird, weird, weird. We had found a tomb here, though, and approached it. The cavernous hole in the dark was barely visible among the dunes. I steeled myself to enter the crypt. I entered that dark tomb. That wasn't so dark because there was a window. It seemed to be rather old and had remained untouched for a long time. There was a stone sarcophagus in the center of the small chamber. We would open it. There were jewels there, and a strange mummy. We would leave some water behind, so we didn't have to carry too much. It wasn't the best to talk to the islanders from there, I guess, but yeah. From far away we saw a curious magnetic mountain. And we decided to move out further. We had, though, not really thrown away the water. And could now only move forward. We drank some tea. A nice green tea from India. Then continued our journey to the troubled lands of the hyenas. A scout post was waiting for us. The hyena, though, had not yet noticed us, and we were curious if we should maybe try to ignore it. The hyena was approaching us, though we heard her call, and so we again decided to attack. It was actually a big couple of hyenas that was confronting us now. We had to be careful. It would bring pain to the enemies. The shaman helped us. Homie had learned some crazy new abilities. Then we hit on them. And hit and hit. Until one of them dropped. the oryx antelope suffered. And we had to do something. The rite of pain continued. I searched the remains for anything useful. A lot of pelts and meat. And teeth was what we gained through our expedition. We would take it all, then consume some of the nice red berries. Cook the meat. And eat. And well, there was a scout post, but alas. We had to find the orchid. Maybe in the more lush lands we would find it. Hidden in a strange valley. We met an elephant. But didn't found the elephant to be convincing enough. We saw a tower that was disappearing. And for some reason, we thought we should rather hurry up. We found an elephant graveyard out there. But we decided we would rather go and follow the trail to the strange tower. Some butterflies. Oh! Hamarkaur is ready to be promoted. Before our eyes, the tower had disappeared, and we were unsure where to find the strange orchid. It had to be somewhere, but where? We moved on. Covered in tar. Damn tar, we cursed. While we were moving forward, looking at a interesting pirate shipwreck. It's time for some more tea and a walk into the mountains, though, where we had found a cave. Made some chocolate to be strengthened, and then entered the cave. Peered into a mysterious cave. From where I stood, I could see nothing but darkness inside. We would enter carefully and hope for our luck. Thankfully, we were successful. Taking care in the dark, I managed to find a path without further problems. The cold grew colder and colder. As I descended into the darkness, eventually I came to a large block of ice with a figure trapped inside. We would try to free the figure. I managed to free it. He was miraculously still alive. He wasn't sure how he got there, but gratefully asked to join my trek. We found Louis Jaeger, a sailor. No, he would have to go home on his own. No need for his services. He would have to find his own way home. We ate some more chocolate and went to an old ship. Hello there, I said. How did you come to be here? I gasped at the sight of the ship's ghostly crew. But they just offered me lipless smiles and asked if I was up for a little game. No, we were just up for trade, actually. We would have to purchase some emergency whiskey. At least that was the plan. For we were kind of out of luck. Exchanged some goods with the keen-witted pirates. We could have gambled with them. But yeah, we would have lost. Surely. It's time to eat some more of our precious chocolate. And then rely on our guts to get where we needed to go. I guess it would be east now, as we couldn't go further west. So we went back through the dry lands, through the shadows of nothingness, through the red earth, and into a desert storm, to a magnetic mountain. We drank some more tea, and we had to resort to some whiskey. A fine drink, everyone said, but alas, was the biggest risk. There was a strange burial ground and some guardians of the Orchid seemed to guard it. There was also a strange shaman. We heard his whispering and singing from afar. Would attack the guardians of the Orchid. Could heal us. A bit. It wasn't the best we could do. So we went to protect the herd. And strike and strike. The guardian wolf. The oryx suffered mightily. And we had to use everything we have. Struck down one beast. We healed the oryx a bit. Attacked the wolf, giving him a bleeding wound. And slashed it furiously. We were stunned. had to strike the beast down. I scoured the battlefield for anything of value. And sure enough, we found some pelts and meat. Ate the meat. Continued to the burial grounds. But we approached. Hoped to find the orchid. Approached what seemed to be a sacred ground of the locals. I felt an uneasy shiver run down my spine. I had heard stories. The consequences of disturbing sacred ground. We could dig. We could make an offering. We would dig with our bare hands. And found another mummy. In the dark. Turned to leave, a spectral figure rose from the ground. The ghosts of the disturbed dead had risen to take vengeance. Oh no! I hoped for a shaman to do us good. And indeed, he struck with full force. We struck some more of them down. Relentless as we were. They weren't reacting. And we made sure they got their part of the pain. And struck. And struck! Check the dead ghosts for valuables. But they weren't. Weren't they dead? Seemed like they were alive, actually. Real living beings. We had a horn flute. We would eat some red berries that we found. And then, unsure as of what to do. I'd use the horn flute. That made us noticeable, but the shaman had already noticed us. We would have to heal. At least Mrs. Catley. Then we moved further to stop the shaman that approached us mightily with his wolves. Ow! The oryx bled. We were in deep trouble. Used our protective totem. Well, not yet though. Then we had to bring them a lot of pain and weaken them at any price. The wolves had to die. We're coughing up blood. But fleeing was out of the question. We had to heal everyone for a bit at least. Protect ourselves. And then strike as much as we could. But whom? We slashed them with a mighty strike that would strike us as well. We struck and struck to take them down. The enemies were bleeding, but strong and vicious. At least our wounds were healed. What would we do? We struck out. And then we had to strike. The freaking shaman needed to die. The wolves were bleeding and suffering. Without their leader, we hoped to defeat them quickly. Struck the first wolf. Then the next, and looted the bodies of the fallen. A strange shaman headdress, beetle nuts, and all kinds of things were ready for us to take. We ate some very grilled meat and talked about how it could have been worse. Still, though, we hadn't found the orchid. There was a stone disc that would maybe tell us something. Came across an ancient disc of carved stone embedded in the ground. Its intricate markings seemed to indicate some knowledge of astronomy. We would analyze the markings. Oh, indeed, what would be revealed by this? Something strange had happened there. Well, we went onward to the waterfalls, where we would rest to heal for a bit. It were not normal waterfalls, a perfect image of peace and beauty. It was here that I would find the famed rainbow orchid, and we would take it with us. I dug carefully around the orchid, preserving a bit of soil to keep it alive. Reverently I stowed it in a crate for the journey back home. Now I had but to retrace my steps back to the ship, to return home with my prize. I would have to leave quickly. Someone is already waiting for us. Quick, I said, quick! It was an islander village, but I didn't think they would be too happy about us stealing their orchid. The same was true for the strange gentleman that we'd heard about from one of us 3 islanders there. Even though, well, there was rumor of some butterflies out there in the wild that we would pick up on the way. And a trader was close by. To my surprise, I encountered a colorfully dressed wandering trader. He gave a wide grin when he saw me, placing a bulging pack full of wares on the ground. Proudly presented us with a selection of his wares. They seemed to be the remains of previous and less successful expeditions. Oh well, yes, dear trader. There was nothing we would love, though. And so we went forward. Met a stone statue. Discovered a meticulously carved figure, its ghastly visage twisted into a cruel grimace. The great thing filled me with dread and curiosity in equal measure. The shaman didn't want to touch anything, but the islanders hated us already. I would examine the offerings. Oh, we found a tanning kit and some animal scent. That wasn't much. And we would leave it there. There was a tar bog nearby that we wanted to avoid. Drank some tea. Because tea was always the best. Then we ran. We ran like there was the devil behind us. Onto the plateau. Through the dry and strange lands. Back to our ship. We would ignore the island. But alas, Home called. And the elusive orchid that had escaped us last time was now back with us. Though the journey had been long and arduous, I at least returned to the safety of my ship, the rainbow orchid in hand. Glory was mine. We would sail home victorious. I had achieved everything I wanted here. In a moment of silence, I reflected on the losses we had endured for this brief moment of victory. Homie had transformed and maybe lost his soul. To history, though. Orchid has been recovered. We returned to the ship. All of the great things that we had brought to the Royal Avalon Society were celebrated. Strange old beetle nuts, mummies of a strange people, a gruesome mask, and furs of wild animals, jewels of unknown power were all ours now. We had learned something new. Our sight had actually sharpened, so we could... So we could see mushrooms, maybe. No? So we could see landmarks earlier. It was through experience. But the city was buzzing with rumors that Wong Fei Hung had learned Malin's location and was on his way to find her. I snorted with disbelief when I heard his nonsense. Fei Hung's only talents were bullying and spite. The only thing he might find in the islands was his death. Well, we went again to the shady dealer to see what new things he had. Nothing that great. We went back to the Royal Society and went to cure an ailment of Homie. He was a little bit sexist and we couldn't have that. Miss Farlow gently asked me to leave so that she might be alone with Homie. I was happy to accommodate her, and when I left they were sitting quietly locked in conversation. Upon my return, Homie was looking clear-eyed and calm. He assured me that his troubles were behind him, and I felt reassured by the steadiness of his voice. We also went to see what we could acquire. We decided to visit the others as well, the Taishi Academy. Still only offers some butterfly swords. And we hadn't even looked to Lux Labs. We could upgrade our equipment though. Maybe the butterfly swords would be good. Then, the Talwar was an opportunity. hiking stick. Would be able to do a little bit more. The binoculars would be slightly better. The healing charm. The healing charm was surely not worth it. The overgrown rifle had never really helped us. Maybe the binoculars would be of some help. Our great swords. We went back out. Also looked at their shop. They had nothing to offer. Only for club members, they said. I emerged again into the bustle of the exposition grounds. I found myself immersed in the sights and sounds of the busy site once more. Still, we would take a rest here. And I would close the diary for now and say, thank you for reading and watching. My friend, have a great time until next time, and happy gaming. This is Immanuel Can, Rushdie, Shaman, the Cartographer, signing out. See you next time, and happy gaming.